Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashivasamarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Kesavam Badarayanam सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः गुकारस्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यविधीयते ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरिङ्गैः स्तुष्ट्वागुंसस्तनूभिः यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 प्रज्ञानां शुप्रतानैः स्थिरचरनिकरव्यापिभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुक्त्वा भोगान् स्तविष्ठान् पुनरपि दिशनोद्भासितान् कामजन्यान् पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपिति मधुरभुं मायया भोजयन्नः मायासङ्ख्यातुरीयं परममृतमजं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि आदावन्ते च यन्नास्ति वर्तमानेऽपि तत्तथा विदतैः सदृशाः सन्तः विदथा इव लक्षिताः सप्रयोजनता तेषां स्वप्ने विप्रतिपद्यते तस्माद् आद्यन्तवत्वेन मिथ्यैव खलु ते स्मृताः सर्वे धर्मा मृषा स्वप्ने कायस्यान्तर्निदर्शनात् संवृतेऽस्मिन् प्रदेशे वै भूतानां दर्शनं कुतः न युक्तं दर्शनं गत्वा कालस्य नियमात् गतौ प्रतिबुद्धश्च वै सर्वः तस्मिन् देशे न विद्यते nothing can be established to be born, to die, to be created, except for the existence which is Satsarupa. Nothing else can be established to be existent. All the objects that you objectified, none of them can be established as existing. That was picked up through Vijnanavadin's argument that any object that you objectify is non-separable from Chittam. It is Chitta Spandana Matram. Therefore, there is no Satta in them except for them being the Chitta. And the Chitta also was dismissed. I don't know. 1 second. Okay, it has automatically switched, I think. The power has gone off. So, anyway, so let's, I think it has picked it up from my mobile. Okay, so therefore, the Chitta Spandanam also, the Vritti is non-existent. The birth of Chitta also was dismissed because that is also Karyam. Now it is further being analyzed by these verses, which are repeated from Vaitatya Prakarana. Adavante cha yannasti vartamane api tattatha. Any object that you see seem to have this Shadbhava Vikara. Asti jayate vardhate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyati. These are there, except for Akasha and all that. Any objects that you see are bound by time. For that matter, even Akasha also is bound within your experience. Okay. So it doesn't have an independent existence other than it being available to you as a cognizer. Akasha, see, other objects you can say they exist, they don't exist, and all that. Akasha, time, space, and time are absolute dependent on an awareness, because time is purely something that an awareness is cognizing. That's why in dream you have a different scale of time. In waken you have a different scale of time. And in fact, even within waken you will have multiple. If you are standing on a hot plate, the time doesn't move. But if you are watching a comedy movie, the time like just flies, right? It's all dependent on, it's a very, very subjective thing. Okay. But you have a scale from in awakening, this is what is the time. Okay. But still, time is nothing but perception of sequential, perceptions. Okay. It is more a cognition that happens in your mental vritti only. Same holds true for the space also. Spatiality, the dimensionality is part of the experience. So without an experiencer, Chit, there is no space. All other objects are anyway born in time. Okay, they are born in time and they go away in time. So using this logic, adavante cha yan nasti, vartamane api tat tatha. If it is not there in the beginning and it is not there in the end, where is it there in the in between? What is this in between? See, in between means it has to be between a start and end. When there is no start, there is no end. Where is the in between? The definition of in between also is reliant on the start and end. If there is no Adi and there is no Anta also, there may be certain there is no Adi, but there can be an Anta. Okay. For example, ignorance we say, even though we say that also is non-existent, but at least within the Vyavaharikam, we can ignorance doesn't have an Adi, but it has an Anta. Okay. Ended sometime, it ends sometime. You can talk about many instances. From the time immemorial, certain ignorance is there, and suddenly you found out something, Newton's third law, then that ignorance of third law is gone. Right? But if there is no Adi, no Anta, what is there in between? There cannot be anything, no? Because there should have been a beginning for something to exist, or at least it should be not there. So the only thing which is Adavante Nasti Vartamane Asti is the Brahma Vastu. Everything else, which is the object of your cognition, they cannot, we don't have an example where there is no Adi, no Anta, but exists in between. Okay. Adavante cha yannasti vartamanepi tattata vitataihi sadrishaha santaha avitata iva lakshitaha. Okay. Therefore, these illusory things, the mithya bhuta things are perceived as though they are real. Okay. And then there is this other contention. Again, this has already been dismissed in the Vaitatya is Saprayojanata. There is a usefulness. But the usefulness also has its scope. That's what he says. Saprayojanata swapne vipratipadyate. Okay. Okay. So the objects in the waken, okay, has no use in the dream, and objects in the dream have no use in waken. Okay. Therefore, adyantavatven mithya eva kalu te smrutaha. There is everything is within its realm of scope only. So there is no absolute utility value for anything. So because there is a saprayojanata, it doesn't establish its existence also. Okay. This we saw actually briefly again yesterday in the last class. Sarve dharma mrisha swapne kayasya antar nidarshanat samvrite asmin pradeshe vai bhutanam darshanam kutaha. Okay. So this samrudatvam, sarve dharma mrisha swapne, all the attributes and objects that are cognized in the swapnam, in the dream, are mrisha eva. They are mithya bhuta. Why? Kayasya antar kayasya anta nidarshana. Okay. It is seen, it is perceived to be inside this body. Kayasya antaha nidarshanat. So it is seen within this body. An elephant is seen. How can an elephant be inside? So obviously it is not. Also, samvrite asmin pradeshe bhutanam darshanam kutaha. Okay, in this small brain, okay, it is not possible to be seen. Okay, and you can also extend it to Brahmavastu. You can say in the Brahma, which is Nirgunam, Niravayavam, okay, there is no Parichinnatvam. Within that, how can these objects exist? Nimittasya animittatvam ishyate bhutadarshanat iti ayam artaha prapanchate etaihi shlokaihi. This also we have already seen. The bhutadarshanat, then you switch to the real swarupa. Anything that you see is reduced to this whole namarupa gets reduced to only the satta. So if it is only satta which is there, this namarupa cannot exist within that satta. Therefore, just like in Samvrite Pradeshe, these in this very restricted space which is there inside your brain, you cannot see all these big things that you see. You can see, but they can't exist there. Likewise, in this Niravayava Nirakara Swarupa, which is purely Satta, okay, these all this name and form, these objects themselves, name and form is okay. Object themselves cannot exist in that. So that is what is told in 33. Till then we saw. Okay. Nayuktam darshanam gatva kalasya aniyamad gatau प्रतिबुद्धश्च वै सर्वः तस्मिन् देशेन विद्यते नयुक्तम. It is untenable. Okay, nayuktam, not possible. Nayuktam darshanam gatva. Nayuktam darshanam gatva. Okay, going, to go out. Kalasya aniyamat. The journey in the vacancy. These are very straightforward things, like I said in the early. Suppose in your dream you are going to Kashi. You are right now in some Tiruchirappalli or Mysore, somewhere. Okay. Now you have to go to Kashi. In your dream, you just walk and Kashi is reached within few minutes, and that dream happens in few seconds, microseconds probably. Okay, within seconds you dream minutes, and in those minutes you reach a place. Obviously that is shows that a dream is not reality, right? Na yuktam darshanam gatva kalasya aniyamat. The kala also There is a niyama that is there in the Vekan, but the dream kala is not to the scale. So you cannot say that same Kashi which is in Vekan is what is being reached in the dream. And Pratibuddhascha vai sarvaha tasmin deshena vidyate. When you get up, Pratibuddhaha, when the woken person on being awake, tasmin deshena vidyate, the person is not in Kashi. See, in the dream he is going to Kashi, so you should get up and be in Kashi. No, obviously it's not there. Therefore, it is mithya. I mean, it's not very difficult to establish. We all know this. Okay. Jagarite gati agamana kalo niyatau. So the Vakan establishes a particular scale for reaching a place. To go to Kashi, if you have to walk, like in those days, it will take like days, weeks, right? Deshaha pramanataha yaha tasya aniyamat niyamasya abhavat swapne nadeshantara gamanam. Therefore, you don't get that kind of a time in the dream because you don't sleep for, I mean, people sleep a lot. Doesn't mean they will sleep for weeks, right? Like Kumbhakarna. Okay, therefore, that kind of a scale is not there in Swapna. It is having a different scale. Therefore, obviously, see, it is just establishing the mithyatvam of a perception. That is the idea. So, can you extend this? See, first is to establish that the dream is, this we have already done in the earlier prakarana. The dream is first established as not true. And what is the difference in the Vakan? It also falls within the same category. Just like dream is dismissed in Vakan, the Vakan is also dismissed in knowledge. That is the Hetu that is being picked up here. Mitradyehi saha sammantriya sambuddho na prapadyade गृहीतं चापि यत्किञ्चित् प्रतिबुद्धो न पश्यति. मित्राद्यैः सह, along with the friends. Okay, मित्राद्यैः सह सम्मन्त्र्य, okay, having conversation, mantralochanam and all they say, no, by like discussing conversations, having conversations with friends, sambuddhau na prapadyate, that is not there in the Vakan. Okay, so again, one is the time needed to go somewhere. The second is the person wakes up and finds physically not there in a place. Not only that, you are seeing the others. See, so far the two things that were told is about you, who is the dreamer. You are having a different time experience. You are also having a space experience where you are yourself not there when you wake up. So it is, so now it is about the other people. Okay, so mitradyehi saha. So the friends that you are having a conversation with, you don't find those friends, and your conversations when you wake up, it's all gone, because you would have told, your friend would have told, I will definitely come to your home tomorrow. You can't get up on the next day and then, if the friend has told that in the dream, we don't call and say, hey, you told this yesterday in the dream, where are you? You are not here. We don't say that, right? So obviously it is a different reality. And grihitam vapi yatkinchit pratibuddhau na pashyati. Suppose you have taken some money loan in the dream, okay, from your friend, that also is not there in the Vakan in your hand. Okay, suppose you want some money in the dream, you dream that your friend from Australia sending you some $10,000 Australian dollars. You don't find it next day morning, correct? Therefore, मित्राद्यैः सह भाष्य सम्मन्त्र्य तदेव मन्त्रणं प्रतिबुद्धः न प्रपद्यते. गृहीतं गृहीतं च यत्किञ्चित् हिरण्यादि न प्राप्नोति. All the gold and all that you take in the dream also, you don't get. Tatascha na deshantaram gacchati swapne. Okay, so in the dream, you don't go to a different place also. That also, okay, is already told. Now let's go to 36. स्वप्ने च अवस्तुकः कायः पृथगन्यस्य दर्शनात् यथा कायस्तथा सर्वं चित्तदृश्यम् अवस्तुकम्. Okay, at least everything else you are okay. So you are saying time not the same, the place is not the same, because you don't get up in the new place. The friends and the conversation, that is also not real, fine. Then the money you receive there is not real, fine. How about your own self, the body that you have? Is that at least real? There is no. Why that also anyasya pruthak darshanat, the body that is lying down is very different, on in which you are dreaming is very different from the body that you are possessing in the dream. Okay. So swapne avastukaha kayaha. The kaya, the body is unreal. Even though you have a body, you are transacting everything you are doing. In your dream, you have a body, you have your friends. Your body looks very different. You look much younger, 20 years younger. Okay. You are shining like a, you know, like a very young and energetic, Tejasvi person. Okay. But that is avastukaha. It is an unreal body. And it is pritak anyasya, the other body which is lying down, in which you are sleeping, is very different from what you are seeing in dream. Yata kayaha tata sarvam chitta drishyam avastukam. Similar to this body, all that is perceived are also avastu only, just like this body. Swapne cha atana drishyate yaha kayah saha avastukaha. In the dream, whatever is lighting around, whatever is wandering around, that body is avastukaha, is unreal. Tataha anyasya swapadeshastasya पृथक कायांतरस्य दर्शनात्. Because the other body which is there in the place where you are sleeping, swapadeshastasya, where the person is sleeping, is different from it. Okay. And यथा स्वप्नदृश्यः कायः असत् तथा सर्वं चित्तदृश्यम् अवस्तुकं जागरिते अपि चित्तदृश्यत्वात् इत्यर्थः. Now, this interestingly, he says, just like the body perceived in the dream is unreal, so also all that is cognized by the mind in the dream, right? Even in the waking state is real. Waking also, whatever you are saying, yata swapna drishya kayaha asat, because it is an object of perception. When you are perceiving that body, it was real. You felt it is, there is a world, there are people around you, you are talking to them, everything appears very real. But all of them are actually unreal. The space is unreal, the time is unreal, the body which is there is unreal, the people around you are unreal, the words you said and they said are unreal, the gold that you received from them is unreal, everything is unreal. Similarly, it is why? Because they are chitta drishyam, they are seen in the mind. So they are seen in the mind and perceived as real, but they turn out to be unreal when you wake up. Okay, they are avastu. So in the Vekanapi, Jagarite api, in the Vekan also, Chitta Drishyatvat avastukam. So that is the Hetu. Okay. And Hetu. So the logic given is, even though the Chittam is seeing so many things, still it turns out to be unreal. In Vekan also, what is happening? Your Chittam only is seeing everything. So Shastra says, I am saying, because they are dependent on Chittam, Paratantriyam. Okay, paratantratvam is there for everything. Without the chitta seeing, there is no there. See, you think of it like this. There is a state called dream where you see a world. It is completely unreal, even though there you are experiencing it as though it is all real, but it actually is unreal, despite it being completely in the chitta and me thinking that it is all real. I have proved to you that it is unreal. In fact, you yourself know it is unreal. Now I am extending it to the Vakan and saying in the Vakan also everything is chitta drishyam and these are also unreal. Why chitta drishyatvat? Yata swapne. Because it is chitta drishyam. Just like the chitta drishyam in dream is unreal. Jagrate api chitta drishyatvadeva anritam avastukam. Swapna samatvat asanjagaritam api iti prakaranaarthaha. So what is the difference between swapna and here, dream and here? There is no difference because swapna also you are seeing them as real, but all of them are purely because your chitta is seeing them. Without chitta, none of them are there. Every object is only because the chitta is there in that object in the dream. I am saying. And what is difference? It's the same in Vekan also. Without everything being the chitta sparshitam, there is no object. So, for the same reason, why you are saying dream is unreal, I am saying Jagrat also is unreal. So, swapne cha avastukah kayah prataganyasya darshanat yata kayastata sarvam chittadrishyam avastukam. In fact, in Karika, he doesn't say Jagrat, Jagaritam and all. Bhashyakara only adds Jagaritam. Karikakara just says Chittadrishyam Avastukam. That's all. I am, since you recognize, even though it is Chittadrishyam, entire dream is Avastukam. Similarly, the Vakan being Chittadrishyam, Chittadrishyatavadeva Avastukam. Yata Swapne. Okay. 37. ग्रहणाज्जागरितवत् तद्धेतु स्वप्न इष्यते तद्धेतुत्वात् तु तस्यैव सज्जागरिष्यते. Okay. Now this grahana grahya grahaka beda. Again he brings the same thing. Grahanat jagaritavat tad hetuhu swapnaha ishyate. The grahana grahya grahaka beda or the experience of duality triputi. Okay, grahya grahaka grahana beda is there in swapna and jagrat. So the swapna seems to be reliant on jagrat. Jagaritavat tadhetu swapnaha ishyate. Waking seems to be cause of the dream experiences. Why? Because there is similarity. Okay, just like in the Vakan there is a grahya grahaka grahana beda. Similarly in dream also the grahya grahana grahaka beda is there. Therefore this triputi and that triputi seems to be almost similar, and the dream objects seem to be derived from what I have seen in the Vakan. Therefore, there is a causality which seems to be established. saying this Jagaritavat tadhetuhu swapnaha swapne ishyate. So Jagarita hetutvam is sought to be, sought to be believed in the case of swapna. So the vacan is the cause of swapna, is how we perceive. Okay. But tad hetutvat tasya eva sat jagaritam ishyate. But this dream is not experienced by everybody. That particular dream is for that particular person only. My dream is my dream. It is not your dream. There is no cooperative dream like this video games, right? Two people sitting remotely, they play the same game. You find a partner and then play a game like tennis or chess. You won't even know who the other person. It's not like that. The dream is all very, very discreet. In such a case, okay, the tad hetutvatu tasyaiva sat jagaritam. The reality of that particular aspect of waken, which becomes one's dream, is real only for that person. And like we have seen many times, every person sees the world differently. And something that causes fear in you doesn't cause fear in somebody else. And that fear gets transmitted to your dream. Therefore, that reality of that waken is true only for tasyaiva. Let's see the bhashya. Itascha असत्वं जाग्रदवस्तुनः जागरितत्वात् जागरितस्यैव ग्रहणात् ग्राह्यग्राहकरूपेण स्वप्नस्य तज्जागरितं हेतुः अस्य स्वप्नस्य सस्वप्नः तद्हेतुः जागरितकार्यम् इष्यते. Okay. The grahya grahaka rupa. Jagarita vastunaha asatvam. The vacant objects are also unreal. Why? Jagaritavat jagritasya grahanat grahya graharupena swapnasya. The swapna is very similar to grahya grahaka to the jagarita avastha. There is no difference. There also there is grahya grahaka rupa. Vacant also there is subject object duality. Okay, subject object duality is common between swapna and jagrata. Okay, therefore, if you are accepting that despite being a grahya grahaka grahana, the swapna is asat, then the jagrat vastu also is asat, because it is the grahya grahaka grahana is very similar between the jagrat and swapna. तज्जागरितं हेतुः अस्य स्वप्नस्य सः स्वप्नः तद् हेतुः जागरितकार्यम् इष्यते. Okay, so it is generally that because there is a relationship between the dream experience and the waken, and because the similarity is there in subject object relationship, we generally think that the waken is the cause of the dream. Okay, so in other words, tadhetutvat jagrita karyatvat तस्यैव स्वप्नदृशः दृशः एव सत् जागरितं न तु अन्येषां यथा स्वप्ने इत्यभिप्रायः. Okay, because jagarita karyam is the swapna, the waken is the cause of the swapna. Okay, jagarita karyatvat, the second line, tadhetutvat tu tasyaiva sat jagaritam. The vaken is the truth for only that person who is seeing the dream. Tadhetutvat. Jagarita karyatvat. Tadhetutvat means Jagarita karyatvat. Tasya eva swapna drishaha eva. The one for whom the swapna is there, for whom that person only Jagaritam Sat. Natu Anyesham. That particular experience is for that person. Yata swapne ityabhiprayah. यथा स्वप्नः स्वप्नदृशः एव सन्ने साधारणविद्यमानवस्तुवद् अवभासते तथा तत्कारणत्वात् साधारणविद्यमानवस्तुवत् अवभासनं न तु साधारणं विद्यमानवस्तु स्वप्नवदेव इति अभिप्रायः. The swapna is very sadharanam, a common thing for the person who is seeing that swapna. It is very obvious thing, but then it is only for that person. Okay. The dream, if it is the effect of the waking, so the waking is the cause for the dream. Okay. But that waking experience is real only for that person who is the dreamer. Okay, there is no other person who is seeing the same world, because for that person the same dream is not there. Okay, therefore even though the dream appears as real, okay, and it is, these objects are common objects, but then they are common only for the person who is the dreamer. So it is a very subjective thing. That is the idea. The whole dream is very subjective to the person who is the dreamer. So there is no objective reality to the dream. Okay. So even though the waken appears as a common experience, but actually it turns out that it is not a common experience. Okay, because your dream establishes that there is no commonality of what is the waken. Therefore, he says the waken also is not sadharanam. It is a very subjective thing, so it is not real. Yata swapnaha swapnadrishaha eva sanne sadharana vidyamana vastuvat avabhasate tata tat karanatvat sadharana vidyamana vastuvat avabhasanam natu sadharanam vidyamana vastu swapnavadeva iti abhiprayah. So even though you are in your swapna, okay, that it is seen as an object which is a regular object. Based on what? Based on your own waken experience, it looks like a real object. Whatever is seen in the dream seems to be a very factual situation, right? But that is based on, you think a sadharana karana which is waken, but that is also very subjective. Therefore, a subjective waken experience is leading you to a subjective dream. Therefore, whatever is seen in waken also is also highly very subjective, because it is not common for everyone. Grahanat jagaritavat tadhetuhu swapnaha ishyate tadhetutvattu tasyaiva sat jagaritam ishyate. There is a subjectivity. It is not, the dream is only establishing a subjectivity of waken. So that is also, anything which is subjective is unreal. That's the idea. 38. Utpadasya prasiddhatvat ajam sarvamudahritam nacha bhutadabhutasya sambhavosti katanchana. Okay, now Bhuta Darshanat is where he is actually going to. Okay. Why Bhuta Darshanat? Here he says the Utpada is aprasiddha. Okay, even though a Srishti, any Utpatti, not Srishti, any kind of creation, is, though appears as real, there is as such no creation. He is going to say an unreal cannot lead to a real object. An unreal cannot lead to another unreal object. Like from Sashavashana, a Kapushpa cannot be born. Nor from Sashavishana a pot can be born. If from a pot another cat cannot be born. So if that is the case, from one sadvastu and asadvastu, how can it be born? Okay, that's a question he's asking. So utpadasya aprasiddhatvat ajam sarvam udahritam. न च भूयात् अभूतस्य संभवः अस्ति कथंचन. उत्पादस्य अप्रसिद्धत्वात्. Any creation is not establishable. We have already seen that in Vijnanavadi discussion. Ajam sarvam udahritam. Therefore, everything is shown as Ajam Brahma only. न च भूतात् अभूतस्य संभवः अस्ति कथंचन. The unborn, unreal cannot be born of real. Like a dream being born of waken. Though, so actually look at the Bhashya. Nanu, he starts with the Purvakshi. Swapna karanatve api jagarita vastunaha na swapnavat avastutvam. Atyanta chalo hi swapnaha jagaritam tu stiram lakshyate. Okay, this is a question all of us would have been thinking in our mind in the last 40 minutes. What? How can you compare dream with the waken? Right? That was what would have been going on in our mind, right? He asked that question. You cannot say Swapna Karanam, even though Swapna Karanam is the Jagrat. Swapna Karanatve api Jagrita Vastunaha. See, Swapna is unstable. It happens in few minutes and all that because it is spun by your own memory and mind. So that if you say, okay, it is unreal, I agree. Just because Vekan is the Karana for Swapna, you can't say Vekan is Avastu. That's the Purvapakshi question is asking. Swapna Karanatve api Jagarita Vastunaha na Swapna vada Avastutvam. So like Swapna, the Vekan is not Avastu. Why? Atyanta chalo hi Swapnaha. The dream is very breezy, very fluctuating. Whereas Jagaritam tu stiram lakshyate. The waken is all very stable now. If you see an elephant in the temple premises today, you sleep, wake up tomorrow, you come and see the same elephant is there. Whereas yesterday's dream is not the same as today's dream. Even yesterday's dream itself is very, very short lived, very fluctuating. How can you compare that with waken? Okay. That is Purvapakshi's question. So he says, Satyam, you are correct. Okay. But not from a Vivekis perspective. Avivekinam syati satyamevam. Avivekinam syat. If you don't have the knowledge, if you don't look at the Vekan in a complete new vision perspective that the Veda shows you, basically if he is saying if you are an Ajnani, you are only in Vyavahara, obviously Vekan looks more stable than dream. We are not dismissing it. Okay. For Aviveki, this is how it will look. See, that is where when you want to understand Advaiti, you have to first understand that despite seeing duality, the Veda is showing you Advayam Sarvam Kalu Brahma. Nobody is dismissing that there is a Pratiyamanam Jagat. World pratiti is world is visible, therefore it must exist. Is the argument Dvaitins often give. Visishtadvaitins and Dvaitins and others. Sankhya, everybody. Oh, you see the world, so how can it be Maya? Who says it's Maya? I don't know. Anyway, so the point is here also we know the difference between Vekan and Swapna. Okay. Nobody is denying that. Otherwise, Swapnam is also Vekan only. No. Obviously, there is a difference. That's why that is Swapnam and this is Vekan. So the apparent differences we don't dismiss. There is obviously an apparent difference. Then only the teaching is there. If there is no apparent duality, if there is no apparent difference between things, what is the need of teaching? You yourself can see the reality and go. You don't need to be taught. The Veda doesn't need to come and bring Sampradaya, Prakriya to show you that there is non-duality. So the apparent contradiction has to be accepted. But whether there is a reality in it, okay, that Viveki, once that despite the apparent contradiction, a Viveki, a Jnani see the oneness. Jnani sees the oneness. Okay. That is what is the vision here. Satyam. You are correct. There is a difference between Swapna and Jagrat. Okay. It's not that we are idiots to say that Swapna and Jagrat is same. World is like only Swapna. It's not a very superficial statement. That is how most of the people who contest Advaitins, our Sampradaya, think that we superficially say, just to sweep everything under the carpet and say, oh, everything moh maya hai. Okay, so like that. That's not the thing. So here, see, Bhashikara clearly says, Satyam evam avivekinam syat. Once you don't know what is the Vekan, there is a very, very tangible difference between Vekan and Swapnam. But if you understand the Vekan in reality, you will find that there is no difference. See this Vivekinam tu na kasyachid vastunaha utpadaha prasiddhaha. Nothing is actually getting created. Means Adavante chayannasti vartamane api tada. If there is no Adi, vastunaha utpadaha means there is no Adi. And if there is no Adi, there is no Anta also anyway. That means no Vastu is there except for Brahma Vastu. Now this Brahma Vastu appears in dream as dream, waken as waken. There it is appearing as very unstable objects. Here it is appearing as stable objects. That's all. In both the case, all that is there is only Chittavritti. Swapna is unstable Chittavritti. In Vekan, it is a very stable Chittavritti with reference to because you are sitting still in the Vekan. Once you become a Jnani, then this Vekan also, that Vritti Tvam also is seen as Mithya. All that is there is only Jnapti Brahma. So until then it is real. Just like until you are dreaming, the dream is real. Similarly, until you gain Jnana, the Vekan is as real as it is. And only see the dreams unreality is already seen by you because you have come to Vekan. But the Vekan's unreality is not yet seen because you haven't still gained the Jnanam, no? Therefore, you can't say, how will I dismiss the Vekan? You won't dismiss it until you gain that moksha, Jnanam. Then only you can actually dismiss it. So, right now, give the benefit of doubt. There is only certain logical aspects which are thrown at you. Okay, Vivekinam tu na kasya chit vastunaha utpadaha prasiddhaha. अतः अप्रसिद्धत्वात् उत्पादस्य आत्मैव सर्वमिति अजं सर्वम् उदाहृतं वेदान्तेषु सबाह्याभ्यन्तरो हि अजः इति अप्रसिद्धत्वात् उत्पादस्य so no creation is establishable because you know creation is other than creation what is there everything else whatever you see objectify is I have already said today is born and going towards death. Everything, everything has Shadbhava Vikara. Like we said, except space and time, everything that is within space and time starts and ends. But Adavante Jayannasti Vartamane Tattata. So nothing actually is prasiddham utpadasya aprasiddhatvat. So if everything is dismissed, then what remains is only the one who is actually having the cognition. Even the space and time is not other than the cognizer. That alone is there. Everything else is anyway dismissed. Because Adavanteja ennasti utpadasya aprasiddhatvat, then all that is there is only Atma. You can't even say Atmaiva Sarvam because there is no Sarvam. There is this Sarvam is Mithya. Atmaiva only you can say. Iti Ajam. That's why we say Shivamayam is all you can say. But in Srishta Jagat we say Sarvam Vishnumayan Jagat because there Sarvam is accepted in a Srishta Jagat. In Vyavaharika Satyam, in Jagat Karanam Brahma, Sarvam is accepted because even though it is Mithya, but a Mithya Pratiti is accepted and then we say Tatastha Lakshanam Sarvam Vishnumayan Jagat. Sarvam Jagat that is seen, that is Karyam and Karanam Vishnu. Therefore you say Sarvam Vishnumayan Jagat as a Tatastha Lakshanam. If you have to say Swarupa Lakshanam, Shivamayam, that's it. Atmaiva. That's all you can say. Sarvam, you need, if you have to say Sarvam, then Sarvam should be another thing. There is no Sarvam actually, because Aprasiddhatvat Utpadasya. So Ajam Sarvam Udahritam Vedanteshu Sabhahyabhyantaro hi Ajaha. What is seen as outside, what is seen as inside is all standpoints. There is only one Aja, that's it. Yadapi manyase जागरितात् सतः असन् स्वप्नः जायते इति तद असत्. Suppose you assume there is a sat jagaritam and asat swapna. The asat swapna is born from the sat jagarita. The vacan is the reality. Dream is actually the unreal which is born from the vacan. That is a general, all of us believe that, right? The science also believes that the swapna is born out of the asat swapna. The unreal swapna is born out of real vacan. That is not true. Huh? Why are you saying it is not true? Swapna is unreal, no? Yes, that part we are okay. But then you are saying it is born out of the real vacan. See, that is where we have a problem because there is no real vacan. You have to say unreal swapna is born out of unreal vacan. Okay, that's probably what as a first step. Then we have to say no unreal is born from unreal. So there is no birth at all. Okay. न भूतात् विद्यमानात् अभूतस्य असतः संभवः अस्ति लोके. Any existent does not give birth to a non-existent. न हि असतः ससविषाणादेः संभवः दृष्टः कथञ्चिदपि. A rabbit's horn is born out of this new golden bangle. We can't say no rabbit's horn will be born from anything which is existing. In fact, rabbit's horn will not be born because it is asat, honestly speaking. From where it is born, question itself is irrelevant because it is not born itself. Then he says 39, asat jagarite drishtva swapne pashyati tanmayaha asat swapne pi drishtva cha pratibuddho na pashyati. Okay. Next one here. Asat jagarite drishtva. In the vacant, okay, seeing something non unreal thing, Okay, that basically there is a Shobhanadhyasa. There is a fear. In the vacant, there is a fear of, somebody's wife or husband becoming an aggressor and all that. There is a fear. And in the dream, suddenly the wife or husband appears with, big nails, big teeth, like a Narasimha. It's because of what? Because your own vacant impression. Asat jagarite drishtva. The non-existent thing, you are doing a Shobhanadhyasa, you are superimposing certain qualities on the vacant. The fear, the anxiety, that becomes what is seen in the dream, isn't it? Your dream is a direct effect of all the anxiety, emotional aspects. Basically, what is dream? The reality in the vacant and your own emotional coloring on it together jumbles, some mashup. Okay, it jumbles together lot of things that you experience in the world and creates a new world for you. That is what it is. So, Jagarite Asat Drishtva Swapne Pashyati Tanmayah. Asat Swapne Api Drishtva Pratibuddhaha Na Pashyati. Okay, so this your wife appeared like a tiger or a lion in the dream. Next day you wake up, it's not that your wife has developed all this teeth and nails and all that. So it is not the other way. Okay. So now what is the tatparya here? Let's see the bhashya. Nanu uktam tvaya eva swapnaha jagarita karyamiti. Tat katam utpadaha aprasiddhaha iti uchyade. Sir, two verses back. See, this is a Purva Bakshi question. Two verses back, you yourself said, and here also you are saying, the swapna is the effect of what you have seen in Jagrat. Correct? Whatever seen in Jagrat in the Vakan only leads to Swapna. Without a proper Jagrat experience, no Swapna is possible. Now you are saying Utpadaha Aprasiddhaha, nothing is created. If nothing was created in the Vakan, how come that has led to another thing which is in the dream also? So be very clear, okay, is what he is asking. So Bhashyakara says, Srunu tatra yata karya karana bhavaha asmabhihi abhipretaha iti. Okay. Now let us come to our how we look at cause effect. Okay. The cause effect has to be understood. This Satkaryavada, Asatkaryavada, all these are different kinds of the cause effect theory. For us, it is only Itaretara Adhyasa only. Okay, there is no actual Karya Karana. In fact, whoever is in the Bhagavad Gita class in Tamil, they can relate to it. There, Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyogate Sanjataha. Okay, iti vitti or something, Bhagavan says in the 13th chapter. Whatever Stavara Jangamam is there, life is there, they are born out of what? Kshetra and Kshetrajna Sanyoga. Coming together of the field of experience and the knower of the field of experience. Kshetrajna is the knower of the field of experience. Kshetra is the field of experience. So, by the field, the Kshetra and Kshetrajna coming together is how the lives are born. In fact, earlier Bhagavan in the verse, one of the verses he says, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadi Ubhavapi, all that he says. Prakriti. So the immediately we will think the Prakriti, which is the Sankhya Prakriti and Purusha, they are actually coming together and the world is created. No, Bhashyakara very clearly says It is when you say Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyoga, it is only the Itaretara Adhyasa. The Kshetra is Prakriti, which is Trigunatmika Maya Prakriti. And Kshetrajna is Nirguna Brahma, which is the Satswarupa. That Satswarupa's gunas are superimposed on Asad Vastu, which is Prakriti. And Prakriti gunas are superimposed on the Sadvastu. This Itaretara Adhyasa is what is called as Kshetra Kshetrajna Sanyoga. Like that, the Bhashya is there. Similarly, here the Karya Karana Bhava between two things in our understanding is purely an Adhyasikatvam. Is going to talk about it. So, Ashrunu Tatra Yatha Karya Karana Bhavaha Asmabhihi Abhipretaha iti. How we look at the Karya cause effect relationship between objects is something that I will explain. You try to understand. He says. So we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
धन्यवादः गुरुजी।